Buried in the soil of Israel, archaeologists have found hoards of ancient silver. The largest collection of pre-coined silver treasure ever discovered in the Near East. Silver from the world of the Bible. For centuries, no one knew where it came from. Then, scientists did something the ancient world could never have imagined. They read the atoms. Lead isotope analysis, the same chemical fingerprinting used in modern forensics. And the atoms pointed somewhere no one expected. Not Egypt, not Anatolia. The silver of the Bible came from the far end of the world, from Spain. This is the story of the civilization that sent it, and that grew unimaginably rich from a secret buried in the rock. A culture that ended in one of the strangest acts in all of human history. It buried itself. The Old Testament describes the wealth of King Solomon arriving by sea. Once every 3 years, says the Book of Kings, a fleet returned carrying gold, silver, ivory, and exotic animals. The ships of Tarshish. For a long time, historians treated this as legend. The silver in the ground says otherwise. Across Israel, from Akko to Arad, dozens of hoards of hacked silver have been unearthed, buried between roughly 1200 and 586 BCE. When researchers published their isotope analysis in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the signatures matched the ores of the Iberian Peninsula. The silver in the purses of the biblical world was, chemically, Spanish. But here is the part that turns a trade route into a mystery. The silver didn't want to come out of the ground. The ore of southwestern Spain, around the blood-red river of Rio Tinto, held its silver locked inside a stubborn mineral that local people had never been able to crack. The secret, brought by Phoenician metalworkers from the eastern Mediterranean, was lead. They hauled lead hundreds of kilometers across Iberia, melted it together with the crushed red ore, and used it to draw the silver out, like a magnet pulling metal from stone. And that is why, 3,000 years later, the atoms still whisper. The silver carries the chemical fingerprint of that imported lead. When a mass spectrometer reads a hacked coin of silver dug from the soil of Israel, it is reading a recipe that only existed in one place on Earth, the far southwest of Spain. A kingdom the Greeks would come to call Tartessos. Tartessos rose where local Iberian peoples met Phoenician traders sailing from the eastern Mediterranean, in modern Andalusia and Extremadura. Out of that fusion came the first civilization of Western Europe. Monumental architecture, masterful goldwork, and a writing system, centuries before Rome existed. The Greeks told stories about it. Herodotus, the father of history himself, claimed Tartessos was ruled by a king named Arganthonios, the Silver One, a monarch so rich and so generous that when Greek refugees fled the Persian advance, he simply gave them the money to build their city walls. Even the Bible's geography seems to bend around it. When the prophet Jonah flees from the presence of the Lord, he boards a ship bound for Tarshish, the farthest place a human being could go. If Tarshish was Tartessos, the most famous fugitive in Scripture was running to Spain. And then there is the writing. Tartessian inscriptions survive on scattered stones across the peninsula, one of the oldest scripts in Western Europe. The language is extinct. The script has never been fully deciphered. The first literate civilization of the West is, today, very nearly mute. Then, the world that made Tartessos rich began to die. In the 6th century BCE, Babylon rose in the east. The armies of Nebuchadnezzar besieged Tyre, the great Phoenician mother city, for 13 years. The trade network that had carried Iberian silver across the Mediterranean for centuries buckled and broke. Many historians link what happened next directly to that collapse. The market for Tartessian silver evaporated. There was no invasion, no mass graves, no foreign weapons in the ground, no war of conquest. Just an economy that had lost its only customer. The great ports fell silent. The mound is called Casas del Turuñuelo. For 24 centuries, nobody looked twice at it. Then, in 2014, archaeologists from the Spanish National Research Council began to dig. And the hill turned out not to be a hill at all. It was a building. A monumental two-story palace of earth and adobe, with a grand staircase, the best-preserved earthen structure in the entire Western Mediterranean. And the staircase held a shock of its own. Its lower steps were built of cut stone bound with lime mortar. Then, in 2023, inside a sealed room, 5 carved stone faces, the first human depictions ever found in Tartessian culture. 2 are likely goddesses, wearing golden earrings that match real gold from a famous Tartessian treasure. And along its edge, a sequence of 21 letters. An alphabet. In the script we still cannot fully read. But the most haunting discovery was in the courtyard. It began with a feast, a great banquet. The people gathered one last time. And then they did something extraordinary. They began to destroy their own treasures. The fine imported cups, the Greek pottery, the delicate glass, the carved ivory, the very objects that symbolized who they were deliberately smashed and scattered across the floor. Then came the bones. Nearly 7,000 of them, the remains of 52 animals, sacrificed in 3 waves. 41 of them were horses, and in this society, a horse was not a tool. It was the ultimate symbol of wealth and noble power. To kill 41 of them was to set fire to a fortune. Then they burned the palace. The earthen walls could not burn, but the great timber roofs could, and the fire was so intense it cracked the imported marble and baked the clay walls to ceramic. And finally, the survivors raised thousands of tons of earth over the smoking ruin, sealing the faces, the bones, the smashed treasure, and the writing inside an artificial hill 90 meters wide and 6 meters high. Deliberately, carefully, forever. A note on what you've seen. This film combines real archaeological photography with AI-generated reconstructions. The discoveries are real. The science is published. Where the evidence runs out, we've tried to tell you. Thank you for watching Unmarked Files Archives.